Here he is. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Sounded like a sheep.
You did. You sounded like a little lamb. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right, actually. Recovered since I was last here. Raring to go again.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Been shopping for records today.
Did you get any winners?
I bought Fame by Grace Jones.
Right.
And I bought Peter Gabriel's fourth solo album, which is called Peter Gabriel. I don't want to get bogged down in the whole Peter Gabriel solo album nonsense, but it's known as Security. It's very good. And I got 2 original pressings for under 20 quid. So that's pretty good.
Awesome. You mean vinyls?
Yes, vinyls. To add to my ever-growing vinyl collection that we can discuss at length in later episodes.
Yeah, I'll be well up for that. That should definitely be on the cards because no doubt with your encyclopedic musical knowledge, you've got some hidden gems in that collection of yours.
Yeah.
Not to mention probably an absolute load of old shit that we can both laugh about. So, yeah. Welcome to Backstage Pass, the podcast which attempts to pull back the curtain on the music industry with banter, comedy, and essentially 2 blokes having a laugh. With myself, James Maverick, and my good friend, Rob Newson, otherwise known as Roger the Horace. So, Horace, here we are on episode 2 of Backstage Pass. We wanted to do this podcast for years, didn't we? And circumstances just got in the way. We never actually ended up doing it. So we thought, bollocks, this year, 2024, let's give it a shot.
Well, life got in the way a bit, didn't it?
Yeah. We just wanted to have a laugh. So we released it. And I honestly thought when we released it, the only people that would listen to it is your mum and my girlfriend. But we have been... Well, what can I say? We've sort of been a bit humbled, haven't we, by the sort of the feedback we've had since releasing episode 1. Who's got in contact with you? You had quite a few people, didn't you?
Well, I mean, like you say, before I go into anyone else, my mum won't listen to it because it's got colourful language. Oh, so that's never going to happen. But my mum did call me and ask me what on earth I was doing in the podcast, which was quite funny because I've no idea how she found out. Well, I do know how she found out. Someone in the street walked up to her and told her, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Did they? Who was that?
One of her. Oh, mate, I've gone off piste. I'm sorry. We had a lot of lovely comments online, considering it's a couple of blokes just talking to each other in a room having a laugh. But then that's how these things sometimes start, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I've had a lot of nice comments from people. Nobody sent me anything. Well, there's a couple of horrendous things, but we won't repeat those. But I did put on my post, I think, abuse welcome, so I did ask for it. But yeah. I've only had a couple of rotten comments from people that say we should just not get anywhere near any sort of recording equipment. But
well, it's tough shit because we did. So.
Well, it's tough luck. It is. We've made it to a second episode, which is more than we thought we would do. Yeah,
it has been a genuine surprise. I've been contacted by quite a few of the old hounds from back in the day, from bands that we've mentioned, or you know, specifically from the Brighton scene. And I even got a message from Ollie, the ex Johnny Truant vocalist, all the way from sunny Los Angeles. He sent us a message and sent his love and saying it was really nice to go down a trip down memory lane. So that was brilliant. So that was nice to hear from him.
Nice of him.
Yeah. And quite a few others. But yeah, we just wanted to say to everybody who did chime in and let us know that they were enjoying it, thank you very much, because obviously that makes all the difference. And I'm sure we'll be motivated to carry on and do more. So thanks to everyone.
Exactly. Motivates us to keep going. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And I just wanted to say that quite a few people sent me a direct personal message asking how they can contact us on the show. So maybe I didn't make that clear. So I shall do that now. So our social media or our Instagram handle is @BSPpod. So you can contact us there, or you can get hold of us direct by sending us an email. We've got our own email address now, which is bsppod@protonmail.com. And if you do want to ask us anything, in particular, we've got a new feature on the show next episode called Ask Horace. And we're going to I'm going to put Horace on the spot, and anyone that wants to ask literally anything, any question you can think of, it's going to be right there for Ask Horace. So contact us and chime in. I'm sure that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, all right then. We'll see about that.
So Horace, talking of your ever-growing vinyl collection, I think at this point it might be an idea for me to present you with something you might not be expecting, because it was a certain Roger the Horace's 50th birthday. It was the big 50, wasn't it, recently?
It was, yeah. Thanks very much for bringing that up.
I sent you a card, but I stacked it this year, and I forgot to get you a present. So what I thought I'd do is present you with your presents on the show, and then you can tell the listeners what you're looking at.
Okay.
So I've got you... Here we are. What does that say? Can you read that? Is the
of course I can read it. Yeah, that is a 2-disc set of the Des O'Connor collection, which I don't have that. So I don't really know what to say. Amazing. That is I've got a few of that series of those records. Funnily enough. And you have put me on the spot because I can't remember what the label is. I think I've got a Cliff Richard one, and I think I've got a Barry White one. It's a certain label, a certain series, but I definitely haven't got a Des O'Connor one. So yeah, brilliant. I don't remember many of Des O'Connor's songs. I seem to remember him more from his TV show and his guests that he used to have on, because that used to be the 90s equivalent of the Graham Norton show, didn't it? Des O'Connor.
Yeah, I guess it was.
You remember Freddie Mercury was always on it, falling into a fountain or falling into the orchestra or something and doing something outrageous. He used to come on with swastikas on his clothes and stuff, didn't he? So that's what...
Freddie Mercury? You mean Freddie Starr?
Did I say Freddie Mercury?
You said Freddie Mercury.
What a lemon. No, sorry, no, not...
Did you mean Freddie Starr?
Yeah, I meant Freddie Starr, yeah, not Freddie Mercury, yeah, sorry.
Freddie Starr was bloody hilarious. There was a skit that you and I couldn't stop wetting ourselves about a few years ago, when he does that thing where he's pretending like he's on a VHS cassette.
If I remember rightly, he pretends the track he's miming to is speeding up and slowing down. And he sort of walks across the stage slower and quicker when it speeds up. And
that's right.
Yes, it's genius.
It's genius.
It is. It must be on YouTube. But he was actually a very good singer as well. When he actually sang properly, yeah. He was actually really good. He couldn't really put a foot wrong, and he was funny.
So that's hilarious. So I've hit the nail on the head there.
That is amazing. Yeah, thank you very much. What an absolute banger.
I haven't finished yet, but I found this. I found this of all places in the Isle of Wight a couple of years ago, and I was laughing my head off at some of these really random vinyls, and I instantly thought of you when I picked this one up. But I was right in the ballpark, because you've just admitted to all the listeners that you've got some of these series of Des O'Connor. Yeah,
no, I've got the album series. That is, it's 2 discs, and what label's it on?
What does it say? I don't use vinyl.
Look on the front, on the top right hand where the 2 is. It's a 2-disc set or something like that there. There's a number 2 off the top right on the front.
I haven't got my bleeding glasses on me.
I can see it from here.
And let us take a short warm break now of light jazz. While these outer lemons are arsing around. Nice.
Don't worry about it. It's not.
It doesn't say it. It just says 2 record set in stereo. Hallmark. Is that the label?
Hallmark? Maybe Hallmark is the label. Yeah. Look on the back, on the bottom right.
It says Hallmark.
There you go. It's Hallmark. So I've got a few of those sets. I just haven't got Des O'Connor.
Amazing. Well, when I see you next, I'll give these to you. And I haven't finished yet. I've got another one.
I can't wait to play that.
Yeah. Look out. Here he is. Look. This just makes me laugh. Look at the state of that.
Yeah. There's another one. Look at that. Yeah, well, that's brilliant. That needs to be on. Yeah, that's amazing. So for those people, again, it's a 2-disc set of the Harry Seacombe collection.
Look at the state of him. What a mark.
Harry Seacombe was 1/3 of the Goons, if you remember the Goons. And he used to do. He was which voice was he on the Goons? I can't remember if he was Eccles or Bluebottle, but he used to. Spike Milligan and Peter Sellers were 2 of the Goons, and then he was the 3rd Goon, wasn't he? That's where he originated, as far as I know.
So this is making me laugh. When I saw this, I've got such a warped mind, perhaps, because when I saw this, when I found it, amongst all the other vinyls in the Isle of Wight, I thought, wouldn't it be hilarious if he was holding a massive baseball bat, but you only see that bit? Because look at his face. He's got this really stupid grin. That would be massively menacing. Harry Seacombe and the baseball bat on a collection.
He looks like he's constipated.
Well, I don't know what he's doing. What a lemon. I might have to post it on social media. He looks like some sort of Cabbage Patch doll with a rubbish mulleted wig, like he's trying to squeeze one out.
That needs to be AI morphed into a photo of me or something like that, or you, or something. That would be absolutely amazing. But it's thank you. That's
but there you go.
That's a lovely 2 presents.
They're so randomly weird. And what people don't realise is that you are a collector of bizarre vinyl. So I thought you might go down a treat.
I have got a lot of old rubbish that are arguably people, but a lot of it is from my childhood. And I found out today that Dwayne Eddy has sadly passed away, and that seemed to go unnoticed. So he wasn't famous enough to get onto the news, but he was a guy that used to play guitar originated in the 1950s that I used to grow up with. He was like Hank Marvin, who's the guitar player in the Shadows. If you're familiar with who that is, probably not.
Yeah, I know who Hank Marvin is, but I've never heard of this other geezer, embarrassingly.
Yeah, Dwayne Eddy. He was he did a song with the Art of Noise in the 80s, and he was the original twangy sounding guitar player. He used to put bass strings on his guitar. That's what it used to sound like he did. Anyway, but he passed away, but I didn't know that, which is a bit sad. So I was raised on a diet of instrumental guitar songs, because that's what my father used to play me when I was very small.
Right. Brilliant. So hopefully these will go down a treat then. Add to your collection.
Mate, thanks very much. I don't know what to say.
Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you. I'm seriously looking forward to playing them, but I feel that we ought to be in the same room when they go on.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea, yeah. Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of guffawing going on when we eventually crack open the old Harry Seacombe and a baseball bat.
Yeah.
So, Horace, we were talking on the last episode about our kind of glory days, I guess, back in the day, our experiences playing in bands and the touring life and the fun we had and all that stuff, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we were also talking about the reason we felt they were the glory days, really, because of the lack of social media. And obviously there were no smartphones and no online communities, really. And because of that, arguably there were more colourful characters engaging in debaucherous and often hilarious behaviours. And the fact that they could get away with it because of the lack of smartphones and social media, right? However, there is one caveat in all the memories I have of all the gigs and shows that I've played, of which there have been many, hundreds probably. Mm. With that in mind, and I wish perhaps there had been camera phones and social media so that I could watch it over and over again. And that is Landmine Spring's gig at the White Horse in High Wycombe.
Oh, I know where you're going. Yeah, okay.
And I've got to tell the listeners this story. This is when I was playing drums for Landmine Spring, and we went on a tour. I can't remember who it was with. Maybe it was our own tour. I don't know. Anyway, we ended up playing, the White Horse in High Wycombe. We fetched up at about 3 PM, and Rob was driving the van back then. And I shit you not, I walked in the venue, and all I wanted to do was set up my drum kit, because I could never relax on tour until my drums were set up. And then I could go and, eat some of the rider and have a beer and relax, whatever, before the show. And as I walked into the pub, I looked at it, and there's all these barflies, all these old gits, looking to the right. And I thought, oh, what's going on here? And I looked to the right, and there's a blonde woman without a stitch on, writhing around on a stool, spreading her Jack and Danny all over the place to all these old lecherous kids. Thick Mop didn't know where to look. Shitlegs got a full-on robo-chubby in his shorts and had to leave the premises. And I was just annoyed that I couldn't set my drums up. So anyway, I had to wait until this woman's routine had finished. It was really weird. And after she'd finished, she came round the pub collecting money in a beer jar for herself and her fast food Jack and Danny. And she came up to me and I was like, no, I've just come to play the drums, love. Good luck. And she was absolutely livid that I didn't give her any money. But that's not the half of it. So anyway, so she cleaned herself up and buggered off and got a round of applause, I assume. Can't really remember. And then I set my drum kit up. And then, so all of us band members were setting our gear up. And then Roger the Horace mysteriously disappeared. And you disappeared for about an hour. We were starting to panic, going, where the fuck is this lemon? What's he doing? And then you came back, sort of half cut, because I'm pretty sure you'd cracked them open, and you had 12 cans of a Ranger Boom lager under one arm, and a fully inflated blow-up dolphin underneath the other arm. And as I recall, because I was so busy setting up my drum kit, you then proceeded to drink most of said Ranger Boom, and got absolutely annihilated, and there was no stopping you. So then, before we know it, we were due to start our set. So we start the first song, which I think was Red Threesome, if I remember. But you basically spent the entire song rolling round on your back on the stage, shouting "fuck off" repeatedly to a very bemused crowd. And Thick Mop looked like he wanted to stab you because he was always really moody back in those days anyway.
Probably still is.
And then for the second song, which I can't remember what the second song was, but we started it and then you got up from off your back and then you leapt off stage and ran straight to the back of the room and me and Thick Mop and Shitlegs all looking at each other going, what the fuck is he doing? And before we knew it, just at the start of the second song, you grabbed the blow-up dolphin and ran headlong at the stage and leapt, cradling said dolphin, and smashed straight into my drum kit, knocking it and me flying all over the place. And at that point, while I'm picking myself up off the floor in dismay and trying to catch my snare drum from rolling off the stage into the crowd, the owner leapt over the bar and proceeded to politely ask us to leave. Which I always thought was the funniest part about that story. He didn't really go that ape. He was all quite polite about it, really. So that was it. I think we got away with it. It was either one, maybe three songs, I can't remember, and then he asked us to leave and we fucked off. And then when we got out to the van, I don't know if you remember, Horace, but there were those two Northern Irish lads who'd come all the way over from Belfast just to see us at this gig. And they were so excited to meet us. And they thought it was the best gig they'd ever seen. Yeah. They were loving it. Absolutely outrageous. So, honestly, 20 years later, what were you doing with a blow-up dolphin? Can you remember?
I mean, I remember it a little bit differently to that. But I'm not going to go through the whole thing again because nobody wants to do it again.
I do.
Okay, well, I remember us getting to the White Swan very early in the day, and I remember, like you say, it doubled up as a strip club.
White Horse.
It was a bit like the Kingston Peel did the same thing in London, which is that one side, the bar had two sides, but you could see through the bar to the opposite side, but there was a door that was closed.
Well, maybe I walked in the wrong side. No, I didn't. She was she was in the way of the stage. Yeah.
The woman that came round, I remember, because basically what happened was that the strip club was in the left-hand side of the bar. And there was because the White Horse used to famously always look like it was closed, and it wasn't. It was open. It always used to get there, and it was all dark, and it looked like it was shut, but it wasn't.
But it looked like it was closed because it was rubbish.
Yeah. But they had a strip club on the left-hand side where they had women parading around in the room with pint pots, like you say, collecting money off people, and they would just basically walk around the pub with nothing on.
I mean, you could picture that in the heart of Soho, but not in a weird little boozer in Nowheresville on a Thursday afternoon. It's just bizarre.
Well, he probably earned more money doing that than he ever did with any shows that they had there.
Yeah, I guess.
If I remember rightly, the woman that came round, I remember the woman that came into our side with a pint pot, trying to get money was an absolute dinger. And we were like, what is going on here? And she just wandered into our side of the pub with nothing on. I remember that.
She wasn't the most attractive woman.
She looked like Rick Parfitt from Status Quo. We were like, what on earth's going on here?
She reminded me of the drummer from Saxon, actually. Fair enough.
Yeah. Or any of Saxon, to be fair, it could have been. She wandered round our side, and I remember.
Oh, bless her. She
She was just turning her crushed, wasn't she, really?
Yeah. Biff Bifford, or whatever his name is, the singer from Saxon.
Yeah.
I know a story about him. He's got two sets of teeth, Biff Bifford. Did you know that?
What do you mean? Different sets for different occasions?
He's got false teeth. He's got 2 sets of false teeth. He's got a set that he uses for doing interviews and talking, and he's got a set that he uses for singing, because he's got them set a certain way that when he sings, it accents the vocals with the teeth he's got. He's got 2 sets of teeth. Apparently that's true.
Wow.
So anyway, this woman came round into our side of the bar, and I seem to remember, I think that me and Shitlegs went to the off licence, because when we got there, we asked the guy if there was a rider, because back in the 90s, it's the first thing you always asked when you got to a gig.
Oh, the fuck it! You got money, didn't you?
Yes.
The pennies drop now. Fucking 10 pence. Horace gets the rider and he fucks off and blows it all on Largoths.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Barman, I haven't got any money. Have you got any money? Have you got any money? Have you got any money?
the guy because the White Horse has only just recently closed. It closed about a month and a half ago, because they had a big thing online about they had a final gig there, and they got all people to go there that had been there through the years.
Oh.
They didn't invite us to that.
I wonder if that woman was there spreading her Jack and Danny all over that stool again.
She's probably dead. But the they didn't invite us to that final gig. I'm sure.
Selfish
I'm sure we weren't on the top of their list.
No, probably not. No.
Anyway, so I remember saying to the guy behind the bar, "Is there a rider?" And he said, "There isn't a rider, but here's £20," which back in the 90s was like £100. And so he said, "Go down the off licence and get yourself some beers." And I'm sure that me and Shitlegs went to the bar. Went to the off licence, and we bought a crate. So we bought 24 Orange Boom lagers, because that's what I had under my arm, because we got 24.
24?
And the only reason we bought Orange Boom was because it was on special offer in the off licence. That's why we bought it. And then I'm sure that Marcus, aka Shitlegs, decided that on the way back that we would buy an inflatable shark from a shop that was there to put on the drum kit to add gravitas to the performance.
Fuck's sake.
And we bought that shark. I'm sure it was a shark as opposed to a dolphin, but we bought that shark.
See, this is weird, because when we had this conversation a couple of years ago, I was convinced it was a shark, and you argued the toss for hours that it was a dolphin, but you were levered. So I don't know.
I don't know. You would think that, well, the shark's a bit cooler than a dolphin, isn't it? A dolphin's not a very cool thing.
It's funnier that it's a dolphin, though. So much more dobber.
Anyway, whatever it was, and it was definitely an inflatable fish of some description. So whatever it was, we put it on the drum kit.
Or a mammal.
For the show. And then, we proceeded to spend the afternoon, drinking most of the Orange Boom lager, which we had 24 cans of.
I actually feel the need to point out at this point that was the only time in God knows how many gigs that we played together where it all went disastrously wrong. Other than that, we were very well behaved and we were a really good band, and we always delivered. Yeah,
well, I'd seen a video, I think, a few days before that show of Kurt Cobain throwing himself onto a drum kit on top of the Pops and thinking, well, that looks really good.
Oh, that's where you got the inspiration from, was it?
I thought, well, I'll do that. And there's a video of him, I think it's a Reading Festival, where he comes out in a wheelchair.
Yeah, except my beloved Yamaha 9000 Studio Custom still bears the scars from that incident. Thank you very much, Per.
Yeah, I didn't care about that at the time. I just thought it would be good entertainment value. So I remember us playing the show, and I remember the support band. And I also remember, like you say, when we started the set, I think I screamed into the microphone, "Come on, it's Friday night," or something like that. And it was Thursday, which was even more stupid. So I'm pretty sure it was I got the day wrong as well.
You bellend.
We did play Red Threesome as the first song. And if I remember even more rightly, I think the second song was Always 100 Hands, or... I reckon it was Needles for Teeth.
I think it might have been Needles for Teeth, yeah.
Which, for those of you that would be interested, was our guitar player had false teeth, didn't he? So the whole song Needles for Teeth was a.
Well, hang on, get give Thick Mop. Don't be too harsh. He didn't actually have dentures. He just had caps at the front of his teeth because he had quite a few of his teeth smashed out, didn't he?
He did. He looked like a beaver, and he got.
He looked like Barry Gibb, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, he did look like Barry Gibb. Yeah,
Barry Gibb with a short, thick mop. Yeah,
yeah,
with blockbuster tattoos.
So anyway, I'm pretty sure that the second song was usually Needles for Teeth. Anyway, I like you said, I definitely by the second song, I consumed far too much around Rangy Boom Special Offer. And
you're a massive lightweight anyway.
And I remember the sound engineer coming up onto the stage by the side of me as I was rolling on the floor. And if I remember rightly, in the Swan at High Wycombe, all of the
it's not the Swan,
the White Horse. Sorry,
where's this photographic memory you're supposed to be famous for?
There is a place it's called the Swan in High Wycombe, but that's bigger.
Oh.
So that's why. I remember all the stuff for things on stage was in a little cupboard on the right hand side that you could walk into like a larder. And I remember looking over, and he was just literally turning everything off at that point, going, "Well, that's the end of that."
Yeah.
So he turned everything off. And again, if I remember, I think the promoter of the show was Alternator, which was a guy in High Wycombe called Neil, somebody who used to do promotions there. Because I remember the poster. I think I still got the poster, and it was Alternator, and he used to do a lot of work with young bands. And I remember the guy on stage switching everything off, and I just looked over and I thought, why is he turning everything off? And then I realised that I was being a twat. So I was rolling around on the floor. And he was like, that's the end of that. And then I remember, because we stayed in the van that night. We had to, because I drove. So we definitely didn't go anywhere that night. And if I remember rightly, I remember talking to the guys outside who came from Belfast, who said it was the best thing they'd ever seen.
Yeah, they were loving it, yeah.
So, they were loving it. And then I remember a tramp got into our van. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the tramp with the bike.
Yeah.
I had to throw him out, didn't I? What a lemon.
Yeah. And he was like a local character, and they were like, oh, you can't be horrible to him. And I'm like, well, he's in our van. We're not having that.
No, he was shifty.
Yeah.
He was trying to nick something and go home with a snare drum or something.
But that, for a while, that was our last gig, wasn't it? And we were like, I remember thinking to myself, well, we can't. Yeah, it was our last gig for quite a long time. And then I said, we can't end the gigs on this, because this isn't a good parting shot. So we had to do one extra gig at Mr. Smith's. Our last gig was at Mr. Smith's in Bournemouth. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, that was a good gig, that. Yeah, with Snub.
What's his face? Snub, yeah. Choff, yeah.
Shout out to Choff and the Snub boys. They were good fun.
And I remember at that gig, because we played Gilligan's Gold in the soundcheck at that gig, which was always my favourite title for a song because it's from a computer game. And we played Gilligan's Gold in the soundcheck, and I remember Choff's mouth falling open because that was one of my favourite songs to play because of the weird beat that we'd made up. Well, it had a strange time signature, didn't it?
There was a 7/4 time signature in there somewhere. So they were great days in the band, weren't they?
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll have more opportunities to talk about them.
Yeah.
And now a message from our sponsor. So, this is Isaac, and he's 10 years old, and he's been swimming here for many years now. So you like swimming here, do you, Isaac?
Yeah, it's pretty good, just as long as you swim past all the loogies.
And so what brings you back here every time you feel like going for a swim, then?
Well, there are other pools in the area, but my mum always brings me here, because although she says it's a bit grim, it's cheap as fuck.
Come down to Pool Leisure, East Sussex.
Pool leisure.
You'll have a splash. Terms and conditions apply. Dive bombing in the deep end is prohibited. No heavy petting. No jumping off the diving board. No dobbing loogies in the pool. No getting your knob out in public. No laughing at old people when they stack it in the pool. No drowning annoying screaming brats who ruin it for everyone else. No cutting into the fat bloke swimming lane even though he's taking up two. No slipping on the grim sludge at the side of the pool that looks like poo and probably is. No punching lippy teenagers. No covert urinating in the pool.
Isn't it sweet, though, that 20 years later, very recently, well, about a few months ago, wasn't it, I got contacted by a German fan on Facebook whose favourite band was Landmine Spring.
Yeah.
And we had to arrange to get a signed piece of something for him, and we got that sorted out and sent it to him, and he was happy as Larry. So that was nice. So in the end, the bands came to their inevitable conclusion, didn't they? Because people were going off starting families and getting married and whatnot, and that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose it's worth letting the listeners know what we're doing nowadays. So I ended up going off and getting a music production degree about 10 years ago. So I'm a producer nowadays. I do recording and mixing for clients, mastering for various record labels, and I love it. I always wanted to stay in the music industry, doing something or other. And it's brilliant, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. Maybe tell the listeners what it is you do, Horace, these days.
Well, when the band dissipated or dissolved, or however you'd like to call it, which I think was 2002, for the life of me, or it might have been 2003, I'm not sure. I got a van, went off around the world doing all sorts of tour managing. A friend of mine was doing that, and he had plenty of overspill work that he needed doing. So I got a van from someone that I knew, my own van, kitted it out with seats and whatnot in the back, TV and things, and promptly went off around the world, tour manage a few bands, small bands that never got enormous, but that allowed me to drive my van pretty much around the UK about 500 times and around the EU about 3,000 times. And met a load of colourful characters on the way. And then I did that for about 6 years, non-stop. Literally didn't stop. And that was really good fun. And then after that, I decided that I didn't want to be on the road anymore. I wanted to do something else. And a good friend of mine reached out to me and asked me to give him a hand with something at a music distributors, so a production and distribution company, the middle people between the product and the shops. And I've been doing that ever since. So basically now I am in charge of maintaining the retail catalogue that we have, and also dealing with the direct merchandise. So basically I deal with merchandise for bands, and I really enjoy it, and it's really good fun. And it allows me to sort of stay in the industry and add more colourful characters to my already large collection.
So this week, Horace, I sent you a very intriguing album.
Yeah.
I sent you, and it's not a new record. Interestingly, it was released the same year as my old band Matter's Blackleg album was released, which I feel is somewhat poignant to share on the podcast, considering we've been talking about our old days in the band. And I remember when it was released, it certainly made a lot of waves in the music industry. And it's Converge's Jane Doe album. Now, I think it would be fair to say that Jane Doe is not an accessible album by any means. It's challenging to listen to and certainly divides opinion. But I don't think you can deny the quality of the musicianship and the craft of the songwriting. But in any case, I'm just going to read the wiki. So Converge is an American metalcore band formed by vocalist and artist Jacob Bannon and guitarist and producer Kurt Ballou in Salem, Massachusetts in 1990. Converge rose to prominence with Jane Doe, which was ranked the best album of 2001 by Terrorizer Mag and the best album of the decade by Sputnik Music. Now, I know for a fact it's still well loved within the metal community and very much commands both respect and gravitas in the music industry, and is still regarded as a great record. And if memory serves, I'm pretty sure you've never heard this record, and I'm interested to hear what you make of it, because obviously I respect your opinion. So I guess without further ado, it's now time for
Roger the Horace's album review.
So my only question to you really, Horace, is what did you make of it?
I know a bloke that liked it, but he's wrong. It's rubbish.
You've been listening to Backstage Pass with myself, James Maverick, and Rob Newson, aka Roger the Horace. If you want to get in touch with us lemons or ask us a question to discuss on the show, please do get in touch via Instagram by using our handle, which is @BSPpod, or by sending us a direct email to bsppod@protonmail.com. This podcast is brought to you by Maverick Audio and produced by me. If you'd like your podcast or any other production produced, then visit my website at www.maverickaudio.co.uk and send me a message using the contact form. Thanks so much for listening. Until the next time. Well, that was a load of old bollocks, wasn't it? Good job it's free.